introduce our speaker, I will just remind you that next week we're going to have a social at right here, and maybe with beanbag toss, so we can practice. Our speaker today is Robyn Coquyt. She's Executive Director, longtime supporter, volunteer, and board officer of the Africa Classroom Connection. Robyn is passionate about community involvement and volunteerism, actively and enthusiastically giving her name and talents to many nonprofit organizations. Robyn has over 20 years of experience as a global leader at Medtronic, building relationships with both external and internal partners while leading large multicultural teams and programs. Her positive leadership style in people management, project management, and strategic planning drove a culture of continuous improvement. She's accepted assignments in the Netherlands, Japan, and in India, where she was a Global Innovation Fellow. Robyn also served as a longtime Philanthropy Liaison, promoting employee volunteerism and giving programs, and selecting community health access grant recipients focused on expanding access to underserved populations. So please welcome Robyn Coquyt, who's going to tell us about the Africa Classroom Connection.
Thank you so much. Can you confirm you can hear me okay?
Good.
Okay, I need to do one other thing to be sure when I play my videos that you can hear the sound. So, okay. Apologies if I'm on a very large screen and you see my face really large. I hope you can see the presentation bigger than my face. So I appreciate your time today. Yes, I've been involved with ACC for a long time. My life changed 2 years ago. I had spent almost 25 years at Medtronic, and my mother's health was declining. She has Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease, and I am her caregiver for the past 2 years. And I am so appreciative that you let me join virtually, because I'm down in Marshall, Minnesota at her home taking care of her. So thank you for letting me join. Before I start giving you some information about Africa Classroom Connection, I wanted to share a video that will help kind of set the stage for where we're working and kind of help with some images for you to see where we're doing our work. So I'm going to start this video now. It's short, but impactful, I think.
When Aneli Zuma says goodbye to her family and sets off for school, she faces a 3-mile hike over the undulating Zululand hills. She has done this walk every school day since she was 6 years old. 6 miles a day for 200 days a year. That's 1,200 miles every year. By the time she turned 8, she had walked the equivalent of New York to Los Angeles. And by now she has walked all the way back to New York, and then back to LA again. When she finishes high school, she will have walked all the way from Cape Town to Paris and back. We called her the 1 in a million girl, not because her story is exceptional, but to draw attention to the fact that she is just one out of 1 million school children in rural Zululand, many of whom walk similar distances to school every day. Aneli is one of the lucky ones though, for when she finally gets to school, she enters a completely different world. First, she joins her 600 schoolmates for an open-air assembly. Then they all pile into class, and unlike many other schools, Thembelesizwe Primary has all the buildings needed to provide that many children with a decent education. When the hooter sounds for break, like children all over the world, Aneli's schoolmates play skipping games and kick around soccer with a ball made of rolled up plastic bags. When the end of break comes, it's a headlong rush back inside.
So I hope that helped to set the stage for give you a glimpse of the area where we're doing our work. As a nonprofit, we're trying to unleash the potential of every child by providing access to educational opportunities. And the opportunities that we're providing is in terms of our classrooms. And we're building those in an area called Ashawe, which is in the heart of Zululand in a northern region of South Africa. You can see on the map there, I have an arrow pointing to that area. The Zulu are the largest ethnic group in South Africa. There's an estimated 12 million people that are living primarily in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, where we're building our classrooms. And the classrooms are desperately needed in this area. Without our classrooms, it's a pretty sad situation. Kids are either learning or trying to learn in very limited structures, some huts that are built with maybe some leftover lumber or bricks, some brush, that type of material. I've seen up to 90 kids in one small classroom, just really overcrowded. Or sadly, they may be taught under trees. And you can imagine during the rainy season or any other type of harsh conditions, they simply can't learn at all. So our goal is to provide a safe and reliable place for these kids to learn. There are so many disadvantaged children in rural Zululand, and we want to give them the opportunity to acquire their education and just basic knowledge, understanding, skills, all the attitudes and responsibilities that would help them become great members of their society, able to give back. We want them to be responsible and productive and healthy in terms of their education. So you may wonder why a nonprofit like ACC needs to exist. I'm sure you're familiar with the South African apartheid policy. During apartheid, it was illegal to teach Blacks anything that was not related to their employment skills. So for instance, if you were a carpenter, it would be illegal to learn, and it would be illegal for somebody else to teach you how to read and write, because you simply wouldn't need to do that to be able to pound nails. And despite the fact that apartheid ended over 25 years ago, South Africa remains a very unjust and unequal society. And this systemic segregation has left generations of Blacks uneducated and unqualified for any type of sustainable career. And this area, unfortunately, is still living with immense economic disparity and unmet needs. So the effects of apartheid are still very evident. There's still a very minimal amount of public funding going in this area. So it's just a lack of facilities and ultimately opportunities for this group of kids. And education is providing the opportunity for them to have a more promising future. We're enabling what we view as just a basic and fundamental right to have an education. Oh, I'm not advancing here. So ACC was founded in 2006 by Henry Brommelkamp and another board officer of ours. They had returned from the area and had saw the immense need and couldn't sit still. And I really give them a ton of credit for coming home and doing research of how to start a nonprofit, and that they did. So we've been in existence for 15 years, and we've had a trusted local partner during those 15 years called the Ashawe Community Action Group. And ECAG was formed over 40 years ago. The Zulu King had come to the Rotarians and asked for help educating his children, and they really looked beyond that and saw all of the needs in the Zululand area. And because of the attention from the local Rotarians, they developed this nonprofit there and started building schools. And we have a lot of gratitude to Rotary So many clubs across the US and internationally have helped us through either grants or club level donations or individual member donations that have really helped propel us. I meet with this group of Rotarians once a month in South Africa, and there's about 7 of them left, and they're generally older than retirement age, but they simply feel so strongly in the mission and the unmet needs in this area that they keep going. They have told me that the whole reason that their Rotary Club is even existing to this day is because they know they have to keep building these classrooms. And we're building the classrooms at a cost of $12,000, give or take, depending on the fluctuation of the rand. We're building them a lot faster and a lot cheaper than the South African government. We have exceptionally low costs because of our minimal overhead and really efficiencies we've gained through refining our processes over the years. We're building at cost. We've got a design that's simple and easy to replicate. We're not drafting new blueprints for every community we go in. It's the same design over and over again. And I would say the government doesn't publish their figures for the cost of their classrooms, but through local contacts, we've learned that theirs are being built at about 10 times the cost of what ours are. So we're able to get them done much faster. It takes us about 10 weeks start to finish once we've secured the funding. And grassroots participation and co-investment really guide the building of our classrooms and have made it a very successful self-help project. This isn't a handout, it's a hand up. We have a requirement that the community raise about 3% of the $12,000, which to us here in America does not seem like a lot of money, but it is an amount that's very significant to them and really takes the coming together of the whole community to raise that funding. In addition to that, they also level and fence the site, and there's generally not water in this area where we may be building, so they secure the water that's needed for the construction, and then they'll also plant trees. And I would say the community involvement really results in a deep respect and caring for the buildings. We've never had any vandalization at any of our classrooms over the past 15 years. And the community just really takes great pride in having these classrooms. And we have a time-tested set of principles that have aided in our success. The decision to have a school is made by the community for the community. Then we go in and conduct a thorough needs assessment. And local buy-in literally comes in the form of the community raising their deposit, like I mentioned, and then committing to doing the work that I also mentioned. We keep the labor local. It provides badly needed jobs, skills, and income to this to the community members, which is great because hopefully they can translate that into future employment. As I mentioned, we've got great efficiencies by replicating the plans over and over. And once we have completed the construction, the government agrees to accept ownership and maintain the classrooms. And this results in a very sustainable proposition. So we come in, we construct, and then the school is folded into the curriculum and normal processes of hiring teachers and getting materials that the government would be providing for any other school. And then last, international accountability comes in the form of us reviewing progress reports, photos. We've got audited financial statements that we review. We've got a local engineering firm that we audit as well. And except for during a pandemic year, we typically physically make a visit with donors down to our schools as well. The classrooms really are the heart of the community. Some are used as a makeshift dormitory for girls when the exceptionally long walk may prove to be dangerous at times. And even during the pandemic, it was remarkable to see that many communities chose to have their students quarantine in their schools so that their learning wouldn't be disrupted. There's a lot of times not electricity, there's no technology, there's no laptop. So remote learning or distance learning was not an option for them. And they so value their education that the kids slept on the floor. Teachers stayed there as well so that they wouldn't have to lose their education for an unknown period of time. Because you can all remember what this felt like in March of 2020 when we were just navigating new waters and really didn't know what was going to come from this pandemic. Adults also use the classrooms in a lot of communities. They'll use it at night to perhaps learn a trade or learn how to read and write. So they're a well-used critical building in the community. We really feel like the classrooms are giving these kids the future that they deserve. The children in this part of the world are just simply being left behind, and the classrooms are giving them at least a promise of a different future than one they might have imagined otherwise. We like to think that Africa's future is in their hands and their future is in our hands. And in this area, there's no libraries, there's no movie theaters, there's no such places where kids can learn about the world beyond their communities. So the classrooms really are truly enriching their world to see beyond the future they might have envisioned for themselves. And to date, we have educated more than 37,000 kids who are living on the margins of society. 37,000 have been taught in ACC classrooms, which hold 50 kids per class and range from kindergarten through a senior in high school. I'd like to introduce you to one of our learners. They use the word learners instead of students in South Africa. This is Michael Nzuza, and Michael was a young cow herder when he started kindergarten at age 15. So you can imagine this bigger guy sitting in those little plastic chairs with all the small little people in the classroom. Unfortunately, Michael's mother died when he was born, and the family really needed young Michael to stay home for many years to help as a cow herder to supplement the family's income. But the family rallied after a number of years, and they were desperate, and they really felt that education was his pathway out of poverty. And they were right. Michael later became our construction project manager. And it was the same organization, right, that built his primary schools and his high schools that he's now building himself. So I really love the fact that he was educated in these schools, and now he's helping to build these and really changing the trajectory of the lives of many South African youth that were or are like him. So we're building classrooms over and over again for learners like Michael. We love to give curious individuals a chance to see our good work firsthand annually. Again, except during a pandemic, we conduct a learning tour for children and adults of all ages. We've had young kids go with us. We've had grandparents take grandchildren. It's really a great opportunity to see South Africa in a way you otherwise would never have the opportunity. It's not a normal package tour of South Africa. The heart of the tour is really getting to know the people we cherish, the kids at our school, and we add in a lot of educational opportunities to visit, like the Apartheid Museum in Johannesburg, and we add on safaris for anyone that's interested. So I'm just mentioning it here to pique your interest in case anyone is interested in that. We will hopefully be having a tour in about a year, a little over a year. So the tour, again, is just a fantastic opportunity to learn about the history and the country, but most importantly, to bear witness to the overwhelming need for our schools. We're proud of the work we've done so far. It's been great that we've built 119 classrooms, but the sad fact is that we have almost 150 communities with their deposits in that are waiting on us to raise additional funds so that we can construct more schools, but our pace is limited by the rate by which we're raising funds. And I would say to you, if you are at all interested in learning more about our organization, to please follow us. Go to our website. The address is listed on the screen here, and I'll share it after the meeting. We'd love to have you become builders of dreams with us and count you among our supporters. And, you know, if you can support us by sharing our message with your network, your families and friends, to get them to come to our website and to our social media, we'd love to include you in that. I have a little message from our small learners here. So they're saying Siabanga, which is Zulu for thank you. And I do want to thank you for allowing me to, I don't know, interrupt your meeting, I guess, take your precious time and give you the opportunity to learn about our organization. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions?
Thank you. That was really interesting, Robyn. I didn't realize there was a very strong Rotary connection there.
Yes, yeah.
My question is, where do you find the teachers? Who are the teachers?
So the teachers are generally local to that area. I think it would be very difficult to bring teachers into that area that aren't already residents, at least in that province, because there's such a lack of facilities of any kind, infrastructure. So I think the teachers generally come from that state, that province, and it's the government that is hiring those teachers.
Anyone else?
Hi, Robyn. For the communities that have already put in their deposit that are waiting, what do you tell them? What sort of timeline do you share with them, and can you at all? I know that you talked about how deeply it's felt within the community to raise those funds, and then to have them just sitting there. How does that conversation go?
Right. I imagine, I don't have it directly, our local partner does, but I imagine those are not easy conversations. I do think, though, it's part of the conversation all the while when the community comes to us for need, with their need, or we're assessing in that area to determine the need. I do believe that's part of the ongoing conversation from the start. They understand that we are all donor driven and that it's all based on the charitable goodness of people from other parts of the world to reach out and give this money to them. So they know it's not necessarily a guarantee, although I believe we will get to every last one of them. But I think it's well communicated to them that they don't know the timeline when they'll get to school. And there's a constant reprioritization of the list to determine, who's had their money in the longest versus who has the most need and no other options, who are just under trees, if you will. So it becomes complicated for sure.
I saw in your last statistic, 119 classrooms. How many buildings does that look like?
We have built 119 classrooms. And what is your question?
Yeah, so 119 classrooms translates into how many elementary schools, how many middle schools, how many high schools?
Oh, you know what? That's a very good question. I don't have the breakdown of that, of which of their primary or secondary. I should find that out. I don't know. I have the data in my list, but I've never done the analysis. But thank you for intriguing me to do that. I'm making a note.
So another question, how many classrooms are in a building typically?
It depends on the community. Some may just be a single standing classroom. Some may be a longer building where there's 3. I think I have not seen more than 3 or 4 ever in a single building. Some schools in a community may have multiple of those long buildings, depending on how the need is and how we can build them. But I would say it's 1 to 4 classrooms in any given structure.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and take good care of your mom.
Thank you. Thank you. I will share our website and social media links with the group after the meeting. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.